it would be extraordinarily difficult of a large business to take some kind of a microchip and dump that on a market and expect to be able to bamboozle consumers into buying it. The world just doesn't work like that anymore.
The ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one-world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish.
Hi there. Antichrist, Mark of the Beast, 666, coming world government, the ability to mark and monitor everybody on the planet. Must sound crazy to some people, and yet what is even more amazing is the fact that this prophecy was given 2,000 years ago, long before the world ever managed to have any such technology, long before the world would even dream of being able to mark and monitor everybody on the planet. And yet John, 2,000 years ago, under the Spirit of God, predicted days in which we live today, where it would be quite possible to mark and monitor every living person on the planet, and to cause them to have such a mark that they're not allowed to buy or sell. If such a system were to come about, how would the Antichrist manage to force such a system on people? Well, let's go back a little bit. First of all, the Bible says that the Jews would be scattered around the world from Israel. We know that they were. In 135 AD, the Romans threw the Jews out of the country, decimated Jerusalem, and spread the Jews around the planet, from where they were chased from city to city, country to country, finally ending in the Holocaust in the 1940s. But the Bible also says that in what the Bible calls the last days, the Jewish people would return to their homeland, something unprecedented in world history. And yet in 1948, that is exactly what happened. The Jewish people returned to their homeland. The Bible also says that in the last days there will be a temple in Jerusalem. And it is in this temple that the Antichrist will eventually sit. Well, we've seen the Jews scattered around the world. That prophecy came true. We've seen them return to Israel. That prophecy came true. We've actually seen them regain the city of Jerusalem. That prophecy was predicted in Luke 21, where it says that the non-Jews would rule over Jerusalem until their time was up. But now what about the temple that the Antichrist is due to sit in? Well, in Jerusalem today, there are plans rushing ahead to rebuild a temple. Many of the artifacts have been created, many items have been created ready to go into the temple. If you go to Israel today, you can go to the Temple Institute. Blueprints of the temple have already been produced. All we need is the right moment to build the temple. But what many people do not realize is this will signal the world's worst nightmare. Because from there the Antichrist will rule. He will enter the temple, desecrate it. And then will begin a time of persecution. In fact, it'll be a time the Bible says the world has never seen before. Alongside the Antichrist, there will be a man by the name of the false prophet. That's the name the Bible gives him. The false prophet will cause everybody on the planet to take a mark. And without that mark, you are not able to buy or sell anything. How will the Antichrist manage to do that? Today we have the technology to do it, but how would that be forced upon the people of the world? Would it be through a massive terrorist attack, a war, some kind of natural disaster, whereby everybody is needed to be accounted for, where we need to look out for everybody, we need to look out for our family, we need to know where our families are so that we can trace them by satellite? How will he bring that about? Of course, he could bring it about by just ordinary means, very subtly. That's what Satan normally does. Now, I'm not saying that the implantable chip that is on the market today is the mark of the beast, but it could be the forerunner as more and more new inventions come on the scene. The actual wording in the Greek is very interesting. When it says mark of the beast, a mark, it actually means in the Greek to pierce the skin as a sign of ownership. So when you take the mark, be it the chip or whatever it is in the future, you are swearing your allegiance to the Antichrist. And the Bible says that will bring upon you the wrath of God, because you have sided with Satan and the Antichrist for a loaf of bread, basically. But how will he bring this about? Perhaps, as I said earlier, it may be through some nice means, some beneficial means, something that would be wonderfully beneficent to humanity. Take a few of these examples.
To think something so small can connect you to everything that matters.
When your life and all you love
are on the line.
When every second counts in the emergency room, providing immediate access to your medical records.
Because Bob has trouble remembering all his medications.
Because I'm in love with my kids' kids.
Because now I'm looking out for both of us.
Because I have diabetes, but it doesn't have me.
Because I spend my life in the ER trying to save yours.
We're going to put that in chip.
Stockbroker Roble Johnson is one of the pioneers. Today he's having a chip implanted in his arm.
Okay. Now you're going to feel a little pressure.
Okay. If ever he becomes an emergency patient, he can be instantly identified.
How did that feel?
Fine, that's fine.
Okay, great.
Doctors think it will soon be as commonplace as vaccinations.
You're chipped. We should play that number today.
5 people in Puerto Rico diagnosed with Alzheimer's have now had microchips implanted into their forearms to help doctors treat them in case of an emergency. The microchip, which cost about $200, was voluntarily implanted and is used to keep track of the person's medical condition and as a means to contact their caretakers should they wander off or need assistance. Florida-based Verichip Corporation has already implanted more than 2,500 people with these chips, which are approved by the federal government.
Instead of GPS bracelets, convicts would be forced to have a device implanted.
Instead of ankle bracelets, sex offenders might have something like this implanted.
Parents are putting these chips in kids in Mexico where there's a higher risk of kidnappings. The scanners are put up at airports and bus stations, so if a chipped child is there, police know.
Sounds like an ideal world, doesn't it? A world where potentially dangerous criminals are monitored anywhere they may be on the planet. Imagine also the ability to track down and to rescue frail relatives or children who are lost or have been kidnapped. Imagine a world where anyone suffering from an accident or an illness can immediately be given the right help or medication that they need. All thanks to a chip no bigger than a grain of rice. Now people will ask, well, what is wrong with that? Why not take that? Well, at the moment, there isn't a problem with that. But one day, there will be. Because the mark will be upon you. Now, I'm not saying the chip at the moment is the mark of the beast. What I'm saying, it is very probably the forerunner to the mark. We don't know how it will come about, but we do know that there will be the ability in this coming world government to mark and to monitor everybody on the planet, and the chip is just the forerunner to that. Well, maybe it'll be an ad for